Someone asked the question, what can I do to improve my life in the next 2 years? So I'm going to give you my top four tips and advice for you to be able to improve your life tremendously in the next 2 years. So I'm going to begin with number one. Number one is actually my number one. Tip number one is my number one tip for you to be able to improve your life dramatically in the next 2 years. And that is number one, seek enlightenment. What is enlightenment? It's not some spiritual woo-woo spiritual things that it's like unobjective things, something that you can't be tangible, you can't learn, that can be practical. It's very practical. And here is what it is. It's a combination of three things. Number one, you reach the state of something called self-appreciation. Self-appreciation is a combination of balancing you're managing your confidence and your self-esteem. Confidence is what you know you can do, and self-esteem is what you estimate of yourself. And when you balance those two, you have something called self-appreciation. The next thing, number two, is number two of the three things that you want to reach to get enlightenment is to ongoingly, persistently be comfortable and happy and satisfied with where you are on the road to where you're going. Be satisfied and happy and fulfilled with where you are currently in your life on an ongoing basis, wherever you are right now, essentially. You're happy with that and you're constantly creating attempts. You're being successful, full of successes. So that's number two, being ongoingly happy with where you are on the road to where you're going, consistently making attempts, being successful. And number three, and these three things I can't actually go through. It's a very large and broad topic. And if you want to learn more about that, just follow me on my social medias, Instagram mostly, solomon.jax. But the third one is be self happy, because happiness is something you create for yourself, not something that you get when you get something. Most people say, when I get this, when I get a big house, when I retire, when I find this incredible person, then I'll be happy. That's false. You can be happy right now. And when you get to that point where you have those three things, self appreciation, ongoingly satisfied with where you are, and number three is you're self happy on a persistent basis, you are free from suffering. You are enlightened. So that's the number one thing you have to seek. Number two tip to dramatically improve your life in the next 2 years. Number two tip is strengthen your weaknesses. You know what I say about talent, right? Fuck talent. Everything in life is a skill that you can learn. Every quote unquote talented looking, talented seeming person out there, they just worked on that skill for from the very when they were very young. And so anything is a skill you can learn. Work on the weaknesses. For example, if you have trouble speaking, which is one of my big problems way back, I worked on that skill. I was the most introverted, shy person, and I got into sales to work on that skill. And now I can sell just about anything. Savvy? And I can speak in front of hundreds of people, thousands of people. Because even though I came from a person that was shy, introverted, could not speak for shit. So work on your weaknesses. You're somebody that can't have a hard time meeting people and being attractive and being seductive. Work on your social dynamic skills. If you have a hard time in your career, work on those things in your career. There are people that are successful, that have what you want. Be an apprentice with those people. In fact, way back then, we didn't have 90% of the people in the world were not employees. They were all entrepreneurs. And how they got their entrepreneurship, how they began their careers in their life, was they apprenticed with somebody who was already good at that specific skill. And then came along the industrial age where they built industries and then people became more of employees. So I digress. Number three, capitalize on your strengths. Capitalize on your strengths. There's something you're good at right now. capitalize on it. If you look amazing, if you look tremendous, if you're sexy, if you're beautiful, model, entertain, be in that business, capitalize on your strengths, but don't neglect the other five things that you want to improve in your life. Don't neglect your intellect. If you are an artistic, if you're creative, capitalize on it. Social media makes it incredible for anybody who's creative to capitalize on their talents or skills, skill sets, skill stacks. And if you are, for example, you love talking to people, you're comfortable with people, and you're seductive already, you can sell, go to sales, do marketing. It's a tremendously uh, worthwhile endeavor to be in that particular industry. Number four is the last one, actually. This is the last one. I forgot I only had four tips. So, number four was differentiate between what you want and what you'd like. What you want is something very specific. If you want something and you'll stop at nothing to get there, and that's a good way to get where you want to go. So you're on the way, you have clarity over where you're going, and then you want that thing, and you're very specific about what you want. The problem with that is that there's tremendous failure on the way to where you're going, because the more and more you're not getting what you want, the more failures you have, the more things that are disappointing to you. The other thing that I like, that I prefer, is like versus want. Like is something less specific, and I'll give you an example in a few seconds. So, like is something less specific. I'd like to do this, but if any opportunities show up on the way to where I'm going, to where I'd like, I'll appreciate those things and maybe even go off in a different road. So I'll give you, for example, you're going out tonight and you want to meet somebody who's 6 foot tall, who's or 5'7", beautiful, a model, very successful, has a business and has a nice car, whatever. And you'll have opportunities for failures because it's very hard to find someone very specific that night. You don't meet somebody, you feel like you failed, disappointed. Now, the difference between want versus like is you go out tonight and you know what? I'd like to have fun. I'd like to have in a I like to find myself in a conversation with somebody who's fun to conversate with. So you'll find a lot of opportunities with many different kinds of people, and some people you'll meet whom you never thought you'd like, you begin to like. Do you see the difference? So I'll give you another, for example. I was coaching a client of mine. She was a friend and someone I was coaching ongoingly, and I was telling her about the like versus want method. So she wants something. She wanted something very specific. So I introduced to her the like method, something less specific. So if on the way to where she'd like, because she wasn't getting what she'd like at that moment. She was having a lot of setbacks. I was telling her you'd be more profoundly less disappointed in yourself and much more happy if you'd like to have, instead of what you want, which what she wanted was to make 6 figures in that 1 year, but she couldn't make it. So the next step, or the like method, was, instead of saying that, you could say that I'd like to have financial independence. I'd like to make enough money so that I can sustain myself and never worry about money again. Something less specific. And a lot of opportunities on that road will show up and you'll appreciate those opportunities. So she was a model, and she was also an elite escort, international escort. She travels around the world. People pay her for her companionship, and she is also a cover model, and all these things. That a lot of opportunities will show up on the road to where she'd like, and she can take those opportunities rather than have something very specific, which was she wanted real estate and making 6 figures from real estate. So you'd have profoundly better time. Now, I'll give you an example. For me, I used to want something very specific, and a lot of people teach specificity. It has a good, it's good. something very specific. They want to stop at nothing. Like um, Steve Jobs was very specific. All these people, Tony Robbins teaches specificity. So for me, I got into sales and I was doing very, very good. I was traveling all over the West Coast and some of the East Coast of United States, and I was making enough money, but I was working a lot and traveling a lot, and all of my expenses went to traveling actually and training my sales team. And I was making enough money. I was doing pretty good, pretty well. And then I figured that was very. I had a very, very specific goal, but I figured I don't, a lot of opportunities were showing up, and my real passion, what I really wanted, was because I was in a I was a dating coach. That thing was my passion, man. I really loved it. I really loved the interaction with people, and I really loved the interaction with women. And so that was something what I wanted, and I was still delving into that a little bit. So instead of something very specific, I delved onto what I want and less specific. And so when I delved into something that's less specific, I'd like to get here rather than something very specific, which was make six figures in sales. And then I have all these doors open for me where now I'm in the industry I am in, the adult industry, and I have so much fucking fun doing what I love. I have so much fun doing what I love, interacting with people that deserve my time rather than steal from my time or are like time vampires. And I really, really love my life because of that, because of the opportunities that show up. You should get a nose job, says White Barbie. You look like a frog. Well, thank you. Um, so I love that I chose that. So that's the end of that. Let me recap the top four. Number one is to dramatically improve your life in the next 2 years. White Barbie says, I still suck your dick though. I appreciate that, White Barbie. Come to Vegas. So let me recap that my four tips on dramatically improving your life in the next 2 years. Number one is seek enlightenment, achieve self appreciation, ongoingly happy with where you are, and then being self happy. That's enlightenment. Follow me on my social medias. I talk a lot about that. White Barbie says, yes. LMA 30, really, I'm going to be lectured by a naked man. Certainly, that's what I'm doing right now. That's what's going on right now. And I really am shirtless all the time. Number two is strengthen your weaknesses. Fuck talent. Everything is a skill you can learn. Number three is capitalize on your strengths. If you're good looking, if you're sexy, capitalize on that. If you're creative, capitalize on that. If you love talking to people, capitalize on that. White Barbie says, what kind of Chinese are you? I'm Filipino, White Barbie. And number four, the last one, is differentiate between what you like and what you'd want. Be less specific. White Barbie says, what do you mean by capitalize? Capitalize, White Barbie says, I'm not a letter, honey. I'm not sure what you mean. What I mean by capitalize, White Barbie, what I mean is get in the industry. For example, if you are, for example, for yourself, if you're good looking, sexy, and you're young or whatever, and you have tremendous assets in that area, capitalize on it, meaning model, entertain. It's be a public figure, get on TV. Or for myself, I'm in the adult industry, and you can capitalize on that. If you have certain skill sets that are abnormal, for example, you're creative, you are talented, you can act. White Barbie says, "Oh my God, you're making me wet." Thanks, I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. Thanks for this distraction. I love it. All right, so that's it. You do porn, I do. White Barbie, add me. Um, that's the end of my video. So go to my website, jaxsolomon.com. My name's Jax, White Barbie. Follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Solomon, SOLOMON .jax. My website is jaxsolomon.com. Unlike Pornhub. No, I'm independent. I have my own distributing company, White Barbie. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, go to my website, jacksolomon.com, and follow me in my social medias. Add me on Instagram, which is where I mostly am, Jax, Solomon.jax. I'll finger to it. Appreciate that, White Barbie. Follow me. Solomon, SOLOMON.jax on Instagram. Thanks. Bye bye.